Everyone loves to enjoy exotic delicacies, but not everybody can afford these, as mostly such edibles cost an exuberant amount. You must have wondered what makes these delicacies like caviar from Wal-Mart this expensive. It actually costs $1.22 per ounce. That doesn't seem a lot, but the caviar we're talking about is sold at the staggering price of $3,220 per ounce. What is so special about it? What makes it stand out from normal caviar? Is there really any difference? Well, let's discuss how the most expensive food in the world is produced. First, let's take a look at some very high-end caviar, which frankly only people with really deep pockets can afford to buy. This is Iranian almas caviar, and as per the Guinness Book of World Records, it is the most costly caviar in the world. Its most expensive variety can cost more than $34,500 per kilogram. It means that 1 ounce of this caviar costs a little less than $1,000, and you can get a teaspoon of this delicacy for just $100. However, unofficial prices can be even more baffling. A caviar concoction labelled Stortarga Bianco was introduced in the market in 2015, and it had an insanely high price tag of $113,630 per kilogram. You could conveniently buy a top-end Tesla car for this price. It was created by a specialty family business called Grull. The product was to be provided on special order with an option of having 22-carat powdered gold leaf mixed into the concoction. The price of this variety of caviar for a single teaspoon reached an unbelievable $480. It supposedly tastes salty, and with delicate prominent beads, when bitten it reveals a buttery and creamy texture. With that kind of price, it has to be one of the really fine quality caviars. However, in the near past, high-end caviar was not so costly. Back in the 19th century in the USA, excellent quality caviar was available for mere pennies on the dollar. At certain places like saloons and shops, caviar was offered for free as an additional dish, like peanuts, as its saltiness encouraged people to drink more. During the same period in Europe, fishermen fed their pigs caviar and at times left it on the beach to rot. Before the commencement of World War I, the price of 1 kilogram of caviar was slightly more than the cost of a loaf of bread. You may be puzzled as to what caused the cost of caviar to rise so exponentially. Well, for this analysis we need to know what caviar is in reality and what ingredients are used to produce it. Caviar is an extremely sophisticated way of expressing unfertilized fish eggs or fish roe. Be mindful that not all fish roe is caviar. So how exactly is caviar different from typical fish roe? All fish can produce fish roe, but there's only one fish whose eggs are officially considered to be of caviar quality. Eggs of capelin fish is whose roe is used for making what we misleadingly call Wal-Mart's $4 caviar. Officially, only roe recognized as the actual caviar is produced by the sturgeon fish, which is believed to be one of the few ancient fish species still found in our waters. Some believe its origin dates back to the Upper Cretaceous period, which is believed to be 145 to 166 million years ago. This fancy fish has many different subspecies. All of these grow quite large and on average reach a length of 7 to 12 feet. A beluga sturgeon was recorded to be the largest one found in 1827 in Volga estuary. It was 23 feet and 7 inches long, whereas it weighed around 3,500 pounds, which equals to an average weight of a car. There are other popular species like Ossatra, Kaluga and Savruga that usually attain lengths varying between 7 and 12 feet, whereas their average weight varies from 1,000 to 2,000 pounds. They weigh almost twice that of a big piano. In 1922, a large beast measuring 23 feet and having a weight of about 2,700 pounds was caught. Well, the record-breaker fish was about 800 pounds heavier than this beast. In the case of sturgeon, the weight of its ovaries, where eggs are formed and stored, is approximately 30% of overall body weight. Therefore, a fish weighing 2,000 pounds can be producing and carrying up to 600 pounds of eggs. In comparison, the human ovaries weigh only about 0.25 ounces. In other words, for a woman weighing 170 pounds, her ovaries do not account for 1% or even 0.1% of her body weight. Rather, they make up just 0.0001%. Sturgeon fish prefer to live in freshwater, coastal waters and inner seas around the world. Once this was a thriving species primarily found in rivers and estuaries leading to the Caspian and Black Seas. These are also found in North America, Europe and Asia, but in lesser numbers. These species of fish can live up to 100 years. By 1997, extensive fishing, over-exploitation, pollution and degradation of habitat by humans resulted in a drastic decrease in the wild population of sturgeon. This decrease in population was so stark that its 4 subspecies, which once were in abundance, became extinct. Pollution and the construction of dams caused conditions whereby the sturgeon could not reproduce at normal rates, and further hunting by humans only added to the species' struggles. A single female sturgeon can lay up to 700,000 eggs at one time, but only 1 out of 50,000 survive into adulthood. Resultantly, the complete species of sturgeon has been declared an endangered species and was governed by a Last-Ditch Protection Act. Accordingly, in 2006, a complete ban was imposed on the wild caviar trade. This ultimate step was taken when 9 major caviar-producing countries — Russia, Iran, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Bulgaria, Romania, Serbia, Montenegro and Ukraine — failed to prove to the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species that sturgeon farming was a sustainable practice. Subsequently, these 9 countries were limited to producing caviar only from farmed sturgeons. Human hunting of this popular fish brought them to the brink of extinction out in the wild. This has also contributed towards the extremely high price. It's important to understand how caviar farming is conducted. Given the big size, sturgeon fish require a lot of space to grow and thrive. A lot of effort is required for producing the best quality caviar. Facilities of caviar farming have to spread over a large area, maybe hundreds of acres. Each of these consists of pools and ponds dedicated to raising sturgeon from larvae to fully grown fish. These facilities are to be continuously supplied with water. Oxygen and water temperature have to be controlled and measured meticulously. The expenditures on construction and procurement of a small caviar plant are heavy, and the minimum cost starts from $2 million. When we add costs of labor, additional equipment and roe of the fish, overall expenses become exponential. Young sturgeon feed on a high-protein diet and require consistent feeding. It's also important to know that sturgeon are carnivorous. They feed on invertebrates, crustaceans and other small fish. Sturgeon require industrial amounts of seafood to grow properly, which further adds to expenditure. A cost analysis of fish farming shows that expenditure on a single fish varies from $60 to more than $600, and the farmer does not get an instant reward. Depending on the subspecies, sturgeon cannot be categorized as males or females unless they attain the age of 2 years. In some cases, we may have to wait up to 8 years. At the earliest possible occasion, farmers carry out ultrasound tests to confirm whether they are male or female. They electronically tag the females for their identification, and they're segregated from males, and continuous monitoring is ensured as they grow. Despite the identification of sex, early benefits are not possible as, depending on the subspecies, sturgeon may take up to 10 years to reach the maturity level necessary for producing eggs. Beluga sturgeon, which is one of the largest and most prized varieties, attains natural maturity after at least 19 years. Similarly, Siberian sturgeon may take up to 20 years, whereas Kaluga sturgeon takes up to 23 years for this level of maturity. When reared in captivity, fish weight can drop by up to half. On average, a sturgeon farmer has to raise these fish for 2 decades before they become valuable. Female sturgeons are required to undergo artificial winter endurance to fully develop their eggs. It is obtained by lowering water temperatures to 39 degrees Fahrenheit and below, and also by imitating winter conditions, and females are kept here without food. The goal is to achieve similar conditions that they would face in the wild. For producing the best quality caviar, these eggs have to be harvested at the prime moment of maturity. For this purpose, farmers regularly conduct ultrasound scans of the fish, and every scan is highly expensive as the fish has to be carefully anesthetized using sedatives, exposed to carbon dioxide, or use very low electric currents. Small samples of tissues are also regularly taken to ascertain the quality of eggs produced, including size and color. Once a ripe sturgeon fish has been identified, farmers start purging. The roe of fish can acquire earthy or musty flavors due to the presence of certain bacteria in the filtration process. To counter this issue, the sturgeon is kept in extra cold, clean water and it remains without food for 6 weeks. The farmer has to ensure that fish is not stressed during this process, as it can lead the sturgeon to reabsorb eggs and the process can be delayed for 1 or 2 years. Finally, caviar is extracted from the fish using 3 techniques. The most commonly used technique is stunning and slaying each sturgeon. Then caviar is removed speedily as chemicals released by the body of the fish can affect the taste and quality of the roe. At one incision, 2 egg sacs are removed and cleaned. Each of these sacs can contain millions of eggs. The remaining fish is kept aside and used for other products. The second method is called vivace, or the milking method. Hormones are injected into fish to induce labor, and a farmer properly milks the fish by pressing down its belly, which forces eggs to squirt out in a stream. It saves the life of fish, and the farmers get multiple batches of eggs from their fish till they reach the age where they naturally stop producing eggs. It's commonly termed as no-kill caviar. In this method, chemicals can affect eggs, especially spoiling the flavor, and caviar also becomes soft and mushy due to stress. The third method is also the no-kill caviar collection technique. It involves performing a C-section on the sturgeon's belly, and the eggs are removed before sealing the wound. For ensuring good quality, the eggs are immediately rinsed in a water calcium solution, which can create an unpleasant texture. It can also cause infertility in the fish. It is the least profitable and commercially viable method. After removal, entire egg sacs are gently rubbed on a fine mesh for separating unwanted substances from the eggs. Other impurities are also removed by washing and filtration. Then eggs are weighed and fine salt is added and mixed in to act as a preservative. Slightly salted caviar is known as malasol. It has a salt content of less than 5%, whereas the high-quality caviar contains less than 3% salt. Caviar having a salt content of up to 8% is known as salted caviar or semi-preserved caviar. Caviar with more than 10% salt is called paiusnaya and forms a jelly-like cake which is kept for 3 months. Even in this category, 500 grams of sturgeon paiusnaya can cost more than $265. Processed caviar is packed by hand into lacquer-lined tins, having no air as it can impact the quality of the egg's flavor. Caviar is refrigerated for 3 months and then repackaged. Finished caviar is graded to indicate its quality and value. Grading is based on the size and texture of the eggs in a given batch. Larger and firmer eggs are considered to be of superior quality. Sofruga malasol, its 4-ounce jar, costs about $450, being the freshest and lightly salted. Kaluga eggs are smaller than Sofruga, and its 4-ounce jar is sold for $300. The egg size of Acetra falls in between the earlier two. It sells for $360 per 4-ounce tin. Undoubtedly, Beluga caviar stands at the top. Its 0.5-ounce tin is worth $425. According to certified gourmet food store Marquis, a single ounce can fetch $830, whereas a kilogram can be worth $24,000. Most caviar is black, grey, or even slightly green in hue, but white caviar is completely white and the most costly. It's produced by albino sturgeon who have a congenital absence of melanin. This is a rare genetic defect and is believed to occur in just 1 in 20,000 fish. Its eggs resemble pearls and the caviar is branded as white pearl caviar. The addition of gold to caviar makes it much more costly. Iranian almas caviar is presented in a diamond-encrusted 23-carat gold tin. Only 2 of these were ever made. It sold for $34,500 per kilogram. Presently, almas osetra, having smaller eggs and without fancy tin, sells for about $13,445 per kilogram. The title of being the most expensive caviar is held by the sturgeon bianco, exclusively produced by Austrian company Groll. This brand dehydrates albino sturgeon roe and grinds it up after harvesting it, which gives it a special texture. The process requires 5 kilograms of roe for producing 1 kilogram of caviar. After that, a finely grated layer of 22-carat edible gold leaf is added for enhancing its price. It costs a whopping $113,630 per kilogram. Did you enjoy learning about the process by which caviar is made? Do you think it's worth the price? Share your views in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories.